So, you're interested in Oathbreaker, huh? Well, you've come to the right channel. Today we're going to be talking about what Oathbreaker is, the rules of the format, the deck construction, and the general differences between this and Commander, as well as some examples of the most popular decks in the format. Oathbreaker is a casual multiplayer format created in 2017 and officially recognized by Wizards in 2023. It's an eternal non-rotating format, meaning we can run cards from the entire history of the game and keep the deck forever without fear of rotation. It's similar to Commander with several key differences. Players start at 20 life, decks are built with 60 cards, that's 58 in the main deck and 2 in the command zone, more on that later, and it's a singleton format, so only one copy of each card is allowed except for basic lands. In Oathbreaker, rather than having a legendary creature in the command zone, we have a planeswalker called our Oathbreaker. Like Commander, our deck can only be built with cards in our Oathbreaker's color identity. For example, in a green-white deck, we can only have green cards, white cards, or colorless cards. If our Oathbreaker changes zones, such as getting exiled or put in the graveyard, we may put it into the command zone instead. An Oathbreaker cast from the command zone costs an additional 2 for each previous time the player casting it has cast it from the command zone that game, aka command tax. If another card, rule, or effect refers to your commander, it instead refers to your Oathbreaker. In addition to our Oathbreaker, we also have a signature spell in the command zone. A signature spell is an instant or sorcery that falls within our Oathbreaker's color identity. We can only cast it if our Oathbreaker is on the battlefield under our control. Like the Oathbreaker, we can recast it as many times as we want from the command zone, paying an extra 2 mana for each time we cast it. But unlike our Oathbreaker, our signature spell always goes back to the command zone. We can't choose to put it anywhere else. Pairing an Oathbreaker to a signature spell is one of the most unique and fun building experiences you can have in the game of Magic. It's kind of like the commanders that say choose a background, but with way more options. Are you going to focus on the planeswalker and then choose a signature spell to protect it, or to synergize with it, or to combo with it, or to disrupt your opponent's game plan? Or will we pick an exciting signature spell first, and then look for a planeswalker that works well with it? There are so many cool combinations that almost every deck is unique before you even pick the other 58 cards. Being a 60-card format makes Oathbreaker more consistent than Commander because you're more likely to draw the same cards from game to game, and also because of the 2 cards in the command zone instead of just 1, but still far less consistent than a format like Standard because of its singleton nature. It hits a sweet spot in the middle and gives the format a unique feel. And if you thought making cuts to get a Commander deck down to 100 cards was hard, wait until you try to build a 60-card Oathbreaker deck. On top of that, decks tend to be more focused, with less good stuff cards, making them even more consistent. Starting at 20 life leads to faster games, which means a few things. Decks need to run a lower mana curve, and keeping a tight mana curve is even more important than in Commander. We need to think twice before putting 7 and 8 mana bombs in the deck, and instead choose lower mana bombs and synergy pieces. Lower life totals and attackable planeswalkers can lead to more combat-focused games, and aggro is much more viable, as is burn. In a way, taking out our opponent's Oathbreaker is a 2-for-1, since they also lose the ability to cast their signature spell, obviously making planeswalker removal good in this format. Negate-like spells are also good, as they can counter the 2 most important spells our opponents are going to be casting. Although the format is faster than Commander, it's slowed down by its unique ban list, which bans fast mana cards like Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, Lion's Eye Diamond, Dark Ritual, High Tide, Jeweled Lotus, and Mana Geyser. This makes games feel more fair and balanced. One player can't accelerate ahead based on an opening hand with Soul Ring. This bizarrely makes Oathbreaker feel like a slow format, while simultaneously feeling like a fast format. There's a handful of cards that are banned in Commander, but not in Oathbreaker. Primeval Titan, Caracas, Paradox Engine, and Prophet of Krufix, for example. I'll put the link to the full ban list in the description if you want to check it out. Now, let's take a look at some of the most iconic Planeswalker signature spell duos of the format. Nicol Bolas, Dragon God, and the Elder Spell. I just love the static ability on this guy. Nicol Bolas, Dragon God has all loyalty abilities of all other Planeswalkers on the battlefield. That's yours and your opponent's. But his ultimate is where it's really at. Each opponent who doesn't control a legendary creature or planeswalker loses the game. It makes sense why people are pairing it with the Elder Spell. Destroy any number of target planeswalkers. Choose a planeswalker you control. Put 2 loyalty counters on it for each planeswalker destroyed this way. Huatli the Sun's Heart and Tower Defense. Huatli says each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. And Tower Defense gives creatures you control +0, +5, and reach until end of turn. So it's kind of like +5/+5 really. This one I've built myself and it was a lot of fun. Ashiok Dream Render with Exhume. Ashiok has a -1 that says, target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard, then exile each opponent's graveyard. And Exhume says, each player puts a creature from their graveyard onto the battlefield. So you -1 this to mill yourself, exile all your opponent's graveyards, so when you cast Exhume, they're not getting anything. Nissa who shakes the world with an X spell like Genesis Wave. Nissa has the static ability of doubling the mana from forests you tap, so you can make a really big Genesis Wave with this. Get a lot of good stuff. Jace Wielder of Mysteries with Paradigm Shift. Jace's static says if you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. And Paradigm Shift exiles all the cards in your library from the game. Shuffle your graveyard into your library. Ugin the Ineffable, or really any planeswalker that's colorless, with all his dust. Each player sacrifices all colored permanents they control. It's a one-sided board wipe, very nice. And I love the cost reduction on this one too. Run in 6 with Crop Rotation. This is kind of the boogeyman of our format. This is possibly the most powerful deck. It's able to recur strip mines and wastelands for repeatable land destruction, get a 20/20 flying indestructible with the Dark Depths Thespian Stage combo, or get a bunch of zombies with Field of the Dead. It's just a very versatile pain-in-the-butt deck. If you're interested in seeing even more Planeswalker signature spell pairings, you can check out my channel. I'm trying to cover every single playable Planeswalker in the format. If Oathbreaker sounds interesting to you, you can share this video with your friends and playgroup and see if they might be interested in trying it out. I'm telling ya, it's a ton of fun. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.